I'm Ann Dart.
I'm Tracy Stormy.
And I'm Kathy Knight.
And together we are
It Was a Dark and Stormy Book Club,
a podcast for mystery lovers.
Welcome. Well, hello and welcome to Bookends episode 16 of It Was a Dark and Stormy Book Club. And how is everybody other than sniffling and colds and
'Tis the season.
Yes, it is.
Kathy had to share with me.
I'm giving her the
That's why we're not
vampire
writers.
cross
That's
her way.
Well, we haven't been up to much lately, but we did have a gender reveal party in the family. We are going to have a new baby boy next May, so that's the most excitement, I think.
Our nephew and his wife.
Our nephew.
Makes it sound like we were having
No, God, no.
not us.
I'd shoot myself.
You'd be in the record books.
I
Think
forgot
about
how old
it.
she was there. For
Methuselah's wife did. Oh,
Outside of the Bible.
well. Yes. No, there'd be camels coming down the road with 3 kings looking for a hotel room. No. Besides, I'd have to bury my husband from shock.
We've got a great episode. We have Adam Croft, and we also have Tom Reilly. We have interviews with both, and let's start off with Adam Croft. With more than 1 million books sold to date, Adam Croft is one of the most successful independently published authors in the world and one of the biggest selling authors of the past few years. In 2016, the Knight and Culverhouse box set reached store-wide #1 in Canada, knocking J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter and the Cursed Child off the top spot only weeks after Her Last Tomorrow was also #1 in Canada. So that's certainly a great...
Not too many people can say
Yeah,
that.
not too many
certainly a great
people
thing to-
can say they beat out J.K. Rowling.
During the summer of 2016, 2 of Adam's books hit the USA Today bestseller list only weeks apart, making them 2 of the most purchased books in the United States over the summer. In February 2017, Only the Truth became a worldwide bestseller, reaching a store-wide #1 at both Amazon US and Amazon UK, making it the best-selling book in the world at that moment in time. The same day, Amazon's overall author rankings placed Adam as the most widely read author in the world, with J.K. Rowling in second place.
Wow.
So great job, Adam. Adam has been featured on BBC Television, BBC Radio 4, BBC Radio 5 Live, the BBC World Service, The Guardian, The Huffington Post, The Bookseller, and a number of other news and media outlets. Adam presents the regular crime fiction podcast Partners in Crime with fellow best-selling author Robert Dawes. So he's one of us.
Yes.
And we are huge fans of that podcast.
Yes, they do an excellent job.
And stay tuned for Adam Croft.
We would like to introduce Adam Croft, who is author and he writes wonderful psychological thrillers, and we welcome him to our podcast. Welcome, Adam.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
A particularly brutal crime in The Perfect Lie. You seem so normal on your podcast, Partner in Crime. Where does the dark side of Adam come from?
I think I just hide it very well. I think that must be what it is. I'm not sure. I think, that, especially for my psychological thrillers, the thing that works best for me is just putting people in an everyday situation, normal everyday people, and then just turning everything upside down. It's just fun to see what happens, I think.
That's a good way to put it, because that's exactly what happened to Amy in A Perfect Lie.
Oh, what a horrible thing to happen. I could just picture myself in that kind of situation.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, I think, really, with the psychological thrillers. It is creating these characters that anybody can relate to, and that it's that feeling that it could be you. I think that's what makes them really scary, really.
Yes.
It's something Stephen King did with horror a long time ago. I'm not going to profess to having invented anything new, but it definitely works quite well.
Yes, it does. Now, you have 2 established series.
Yeah.
And quite a few standalones. Do you find a series easier to write than a standalone that has to stand on its own merit?
In some ways, yeah. I think with the series, you've got the benefit of having the characters' lives kind of, you're part way through them and you've been with them for a while. So all that background stuff, their marriages and their friendships and everything else that goes on is kind of following a line, and I know where that's going to go through the next few books. So I suppose in that way, each book is kind of half written, but in other ways it can constrain you a little bit as well, because people expect certain things and there's certain styles and things that you have to follow. So each of them has its own challenges. They're very different. That's why I kind of flip between having my series books and having my my standalones, because I think each of them can provide a bit of a palate cleanser from the other.
That's true. I think characters do take on a life of their own, and we hear all the time that characters kind of hijack the book and they almost sometimes write themselves.
Yeah, they do sometimes. I've had characters that have appeared in books and in series that I haven't even intended to be there, and they've ended up becoming quite major characters. And the ones who perhaps were intended to be minor characters kind of take over a bit more. So I think it's having that flexibility when you're writing and knowing that even though I'm planning things quite carefully, that I should always expect the unexpected. And if the book should go off on its own way, then that's fine too, and I can deal with that.
Now, is the play you're directing right now, is that based on one of your books, or is that?
It's not, no, that's unconnected.
Oh,
yeah.
Just curious.
Now, in A Perfect Lie, we already talked about Amy's life getting turned upside down. She pretty much lost everything. She lost her home, her family, her marriage, her career, her reputation. In today's world of 24-hour news cycles, how do you think that would play into what Amy was going through?
I think it would accentuate it, and it was something that's kind of on my mind. We've had a few things over here in the UK as well, situations where people have been wrongly accused of crimes and that their lives have been ruined because the papers and as you say, the 24-hour news media just take them apart and assume that they're guilty, before they've even reached trials. Something that was at the back of my mind and something I tried to kind of introduce in a slight way and make reference to the fact that would happen without kind of making that what the book was about. I didn't want it to be, another kind of social commentary on 24-hour news media. But yeah, I think, as you say, that's something that would definitely be at the back of your mind reading it.
Right.
Yes, definitely.
Well, you did an excellent job of portraying fear and uncertainty. And poor Amy, she just didn't know which end was which and who could trust. And
well, yeah, I mean, how would you? It's
Yes.
she's somebody who's never been in trouble with the police before. She's never had anything like this. She's just had, as I say, a completely normal life that then got turned upside down.
At one time, we read that you beat out J.K. Rowling for Amazon's overall best-selling author. How did that feel?
At one point, yeah. Very briefly. Yeah, it was great. The book that came out, I think it was a couple of years ago now, and that hit number one store-wide on Amazon in the UK, US, and a few other stores at the same time. And based on Amazon's rankings, which is where most books are bought from these days anyway, they had me number one in their author rankings for a short while, and J.K. ran number two. She was second, so that was surprising, but very nice. I took plenty of screenshots.
I think I'd be running around saying, I beat Harry Potter.
I would have a T-shirt made.
Well, she's been there for about 10 years, and I was there for about 2 days. So,
well, you still got there.
I'll take it. I'll take it. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, definitely. On your podcast, you and Robert Dawes debate between traditional and independent publishing. For our audience, plead your case, and we will not tell Robert.
Well, I mean, interesting. He very much likes the indie route as well, but it's not for him because, I mean, a lot of people call it self-publishing. I think that's a bit of a misnomer because there's no self about it. I, as well as being the author, have to run the publishing company. So it's up to me to hire cover designers and editors and everybody else that's involved in making a book a success. It's not just me doing it all on my own. It's far from it. But, the rewards can potentially be much higher. I like that degree of control. I can write a book and I can get it out. I can connect directly with readers, and it's just it's a model that suits me better. I think lots of people don't want to run a business. Lots of people don't want to do that side of things. They just want to write the book and hand it over and have somebody else do everything. And sometimes when I'm bouncing ideas backwards and forwards with a cover designer, or I'm up late at night getting adverts sorted, that idea appeals to me as well. But I very much enjoy doing things independently.
Well, I would think it'd be a lot more satisfying to know that everything that's happened came from you, not somebody else.
Yeah, it is. It's, you get a lot more from it in that sense as well. There's a big sense of responsibility, but of course, that also comes with any failures that you have as well. You feel that sense of responsibility, and that the failure is due to something you did or didn't do. So I think it works both ways. It works for me. It's a model that I like, that suits me and my personality and my way of doing things. I think it will sit side by side with traditional publishing, because that's a model that suits lots of people too.
Well, I think one of the things you do that's very clever and evil in a way is having the people on your mailing list receive little novellas and things to read, and that just whets your appetite and you want to read more and more and more.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of works both ways.
To your
People on a mailing list.
Here's a more important question. Do you sleep?
I've got a young son, so no, not very often.
Oh, definitely not then.
Now, has your background as an internet marketing consultant helped you reach success? Are there any tips you can pass on to up-and-coming authors?
Perhaps. I mean, this is something I'm asked a lot. In truth, I was working for a company that sold personalized car license plates, and I was kind of doing the SEO and the Google side of things for that. So, there's very, very few connections or crossover points between the two. So, maybe some of the marketing principles, but, I don't think there's anything really that I've taken across from that. I think what I have brought across is the principles from running a small business and from applying those business principles to my writing career, because I run my publishing company as well. So I have to run a small business at the same time. In terms of tips for people writing now, I think the biggest tip you can give is just to write more books. That's all you can really do. That's the only thing that's guaranteed to bring the money in, is writing more books and putting more material out there, because I've got books now that I wrote 7 or 8 years ago, which still sell copies each day for work that I did a long, long time ago. And a lot of people think they can put a book out and that it will be a success, or that one book will be enough to provide a decent income. It's just not the case, unfortunately. It's a matter of having lots of books out there, and each of them providing a small amount. And when that adds up across quite a few books, it makes a big difference.
I think that's so true. And I think it's the same in the podcasting world. We've been told, just keep podcasting, they will come.
Easier said than done, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
How long have you and Robert been podcasting together?
Nearly a year now. It's something we've thought about for a long time. We live very near each other, a few hundred yards away, and we quite often used to get together over a coffee or a beer, and we're both crime writers. We'd talk about crime writing, we'd talk about things we'd see on TV, and we kept saying, we should record this or film it and see what people think. We're kind of chewing the fat of the crime fiction world, and we did. I had a book out a couple of years back. I think it was In the Name of the Father. I did an online book launch day for that, and as part of that, we recorded a chat, which was about an hour and a half, with us just talking about crime fiction. He was kind of interviewing me, but it was more of a two-way conversation. And that was really popular, and people said they wanted to hear more of that. So we thought at the time what we could do with it, and we had this idea for the podcast, and it took us a little while to actually get it going and to get it started. And as you know, there's quite a lot you need to take into account, a lot of organisation that goes into running a podcast.
Oh,
but
yes.
we've been at it for nearly a year now, and it's been very popular. We've had some huge names on there, some of the biggest names in crime fiction in the world. So we've been really lucky. I think because both of us being in that kind of sphere as well, we've got most of those contacts between us. So we've been really fortunate, and it's worked really well. It's been pretty successful.
Yeah, well, we always look forward to the next episode coming out. We're avid fans.
Thank you. As you know, I've been on my own for the last couple of weeks because
yes, you have.
Take a holiday.
Yes.
I guess all of us deserve a holiday at some point.
Yeah, at some point. Yeah, I think 2 weeks is pushing it a bit.
Yeah.
Now, is he off on vacation, or is he in a play, or?
Well, a bit of both. He was acting the week before last, and he's currently over in Gibraltar. He writes a series of books that's set on Gibraltar, and he's there at the moment because they've got a literary festival there, and he's doing his media stuff that he has to do as part of that. So I'll let him off.
Very good.
Well, I have to tell you, when we listen to your podcast, we're taking notes.
Well, this is how not to do it.
No. What we do is we see who you've interviewed, and then we reach out to them. We say, well, they're open